All right, everybody, this is the web news. And this week we have something that I saw on X a couple of weeks ago. We had a mix up where I thought we recorded the web news 3 times, but we actually recorded 3 interviews, which are being produced and will be coming out on an upcoming Thursday. The topic today is this the end for junior developers? Just yesterday, I saw a conversation on X between Brian Coords, Matt Mullenweg, and others. Some replies have been deleted now, but they were discussing the price, profitability, and our reliance on AI. Nothing really new. In the replies, I saw people talking about how an AI agent could be better and faster than a junior developer, and that the price could come in at a rather cheap $12,000 to $15,000 approximately per year. This is, of course, all speculation and estimation. But if we were to be able to get rid of salaries that we pay junior developers. So there's no junior developers anymore. We just have these agents. And obviously, those salaries are going to be much higher than what we would pay these agents. This would drive a lot of value to shareholders. And the suits are definitely thinking about this. Why would I bring in all these junior developers when I could just hire the senior developers and then have a bunch of agents be like my junior developers? So here's the questions to discuss and debate. Just for the Gen Zers out there, are junior developers cooked, as they say? Will development become a job that has terrible salaries or will require a lot of free slash very cheap work in order to advance to senior before finally landing a job that makes ends meet? We already see this in a loose compare and contrast with some creative careers. In some creative fields, the career path is to work for free for a long time, such as a movie director. They may have to work for free as a production assistant, get paid very little, or don't get paid anything at all to eventually land the gaze of the studio. And they're like, yeah, you can direct this movie. And then they may get paid at that point. So there's already career paths out there because people are going to say it's crazy to like not want to pay, somebody for their entry level positions. We do see that, or low pay. We do see that in other fields. So, Mike, why don't you kick it off? What do you think? Are junior developers cooked?
This is a tough one because I'm going to come at it from different ways. If we're talking about today, right? Like if we're talking about right now, where AI is right now, without the potential advancement that could happen within the next few years, I lean towards no. And I'll explain a little bit here. As I've added AI to more of my workflows, it's definitely benefited me in many ways. One thing that I don't think it does is replace a developer right now. I think it enhances it to a certain point. I also don't think it speeds you up as much as you would think. At the end of the day, where the bottleneck is in a corporate structure development team, a lot of times it is not in the development cycle. It's not in the engineering. A lot of times it's in the other cycles of creating the designs, creating the UX, having the product people talk to the enterprise people, having that back and forth conversation, deciding on a feature, testing that feature. All of that to me, as far as I can see in my own engineering team, as well as what I'm seeing across the web, those are the things that bottleneck a project from being finished rather than the engineers just writing code. From that perspective, I'm not seeing AI add enough value to actually replace a person at this point and accelerate your engineering timelines. Where I see it helping and how all tools have been developed is like enhancing the developer's abilities. For me personally, an example that I bring up consistently is I wasn't very good with SQL, and that limited me from how much work I could do on the database side. Right. So I would do some, but I would never be able to do the full thing. I would have to lean on others. What any AI tool allowed me to do was delve deeper into my SQL to be able to write more complex queries and be able to do more. Did it make me much faster? Not really, because anytime I write something, I have to do a very thorough code review of whatever the AI helped me with.
Right.
Right. So my workflow has changed. Right now, I do a lot of AI-driven development where I talk to the AI and the AI does the scaffolding for me, and then I review the scaffolding, and then I go through in another iteration with AI's help on the next part of it. My flow has changed, but I would not say it's made me super fast. It's just made me more extensive. I can do more things. I can add more things into my code base that are more complex than things that I would have had to do before.
Inherently,
At
doesn't that
least
make you fast, though?
it depends what you mean by fast. At the end of the day, I add more things, but I still have to review all of that. it's a back and forth kind of thing where I can do more complex tasks
Right.
for sure, but I don't know if that accelerates my speed.
But if you've never done any database interactions and you're mostly a front end person, then all of a sudden it's like this ticket, you have to interact with MySQL. Wouldn't you inherently be slow at that point? Now you're saying that AI speeds that up, and correct me if I'm wrong. AI will help guide you through that SQL interaction so that you're able to get that ticket done. But then at the end, before you say it's done, you have to do a peer review. My question is, why would anyone use AI? Why wouldn't you use Google? Why would you use anything Google?
What I'm trying to say is that I wouldn't have taken on that ticket before.
Right.
I wouldn't have even done the database integration stuff, and we would have been limited as an organization if I was the only engineer, for example.
Not have taken it.
Because if it needed to be built quickly, if it's something that needed to be tested quickly, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Even with Google's help, Google would have helped me to some degree, but I
Right.
wouldn't have been able to build it in a way that I would have been confident could actually deliver something of value.
But it's still
at the end of
speeding
the
you up
day.
though, right?
It's
You know what I
speeding
mean?
me up in the sense of learning new things and being able to utilize those tools faster.
Right.
But it's not speeding up end-to-end development times. A feature, for the most part, still takes around the same amount of time, not only because of the development, but because of the QA process, the testing process, and the product process at the end of the day. We're able to do more as developers with this ability. Before, I would have said, no, let's try to do it differently. Let's just bring in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. It would have been a janky solution of some
Right.
sorts just to test it out. Now I can test it out in a more production environment because I can utilize AI to do the more complex tasks for me. It's just adding an ability for me that I didn't have. Your question is, are junior developers cooked? A junior developer wouldn't be the solution to that problem anyway. Like, a junior developer isn't someone I would reach for enhancing my ability to do databases. Usually
Right.
that would be someone like someone that's already has experience. So I think overall there might be less need for bigger teams of developers,
Right. So
but
then
I'm not sure if that's specific to junior developers.
certificate though.
Yeah.
I'm the suit. Let's just say I'm the suit. All I care about is value. I don't care who's on your team. I only want the web app done, right? Again, the plain devil's advocate here. Mike, you can do more now, right? With AI? Why is it my responsibility to train this junior? And I'm being intentionally cruel. I'm not trying to, I'm being intentionally, for the sake of this recording. Get rid of everybody who we're training. I only want seniors. And immediately I can hear an echo in the back of my head saying, so someone's out there screaming, yeah, but what about longevity? Longevity is not my problem. I am not there to train you.
But you could have said that at any point with or without AI, and that's fair. That would have been a fair statement. Well, fair as in, something a suit would say.
But the junior
think AI
developers used to
changes
do
that
the grunt
conversation.
work, right?
Some of the grunt work, yeah, sure.
So now the grunt work
Not
doesn't
all.
exist, right? Or it's minimalized. More importantly, I don't need two people. I don't need one grunt and one senior. I need one senior with AI, and he or she's going to be able to do the work of a senior and the work of a junior. And he's only going to get paid, say, $200K. Meanwhile, maybe just for the sake of simplicity, maybe the junior was making 100 and the senior was making 200. So it was 300. I just saved $100,000. Sounds pretty good to me.
There isn't a lot of argument to those kinds of conversations when they start coming from suits from the top.
Right.
Right? Because if they're disregarding longevity, if they're disregarding team building, if they're disregarding being able to pass down knowledge so that your team could survive longevity, there's not much argument. If that's not the discussion, a senior can do a lot to maintain the pace of whatever needs to be done. Engineering's not usually the bottleneck in a development team.
Right.
The honest answer is, yeah, if you care about today, if you care about your cost today, regardless of AI, yeah, let's lay off all of the training staff. Let's lay off all the juniors, as long as we don't care about tomorrow.
I would say that I disagree with that, because what we're talking about here is that there's these agents now, right? Where these AI have agency. So the thing is, and I'm stepping out of devil's advocate mode now. So it's like these AI agents have just effectively a few months ago come out. They're going to obviously get better because AI has gotten better and AI agents were just invented effectively, right? These things are able to do things independently and can be controlled by the senior developers. You're talking about longevity and stuff like that. I mean, the team building and stuff's still going to happen. If you're in a team of 20 people, 10 of them are juniors and 10 of them are seniors, we're going to get rid of those jobs. We're going to lay off those junior developers. We're going to kill off those roles, not the people. We're going to take out those roles. And then we're only going to have 10 developer roles, and they're all going to be for seniors. We could spin up 20 agents and still save money.
So where I disagree with this heavily is that I think spinning up 20 agents to do tasks on their own and having 10 developers review those tasks, that would be more work than actually writing those tasks from scratch for those developers, because the trust level on those agents is very low still.
Okay.
We looked at the Stack Overflow survey. They don't write comprehensive code. They write some functional stuff, but you cannot trust every line that they write, which means you have to review every single line, test every single line. And that means that those developers you have left are essentially going to be code reviewing all the time and rewriting code that the agents are writing, most likely, rather than actually pushing the code base forward. So they're just going to be wranglers of the agents.
Right.
Whereas with junior developers, it's not much different. But the reality is that you can teach junior developers pretty quickly to your coding standards. After the first couple of weeks or the first month or so, you can start to let go of those reins and start to trust them more. And yes, you're still going to be reviewing their code, but now it might take you like 15 minutes because you've taught them your coding standards over and over again. You can do a similar thing with agents, right? By writing good spec, writing good prompts and stuff like that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're not really improving the same way that a junior developer would improve.
So
they are able to only have the context that they have.
I disagree with that in concept. Now, hang on. AI is obviously cutting edge. However, you just described a business need that OpenAI and many other AI companies are going to go after. So yeah, I mean, like they're aware. Yeah, people don't want to keep code reviewing stuff. So they're aware that we need to make these things better in order to sell more agents.
So this is why I prefaced my initial conversation to the fact that we're talking about today. We're talking about where we're at today.
No, for sure.
I agree with you. This is where I will diverge from my argument and play devil's advocate to myself. The issue with my argument is if these AI agents get, let's say, 50% better, let's say 100% better. If they get 100% better within the next 2 years, this argument becomes moot.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only will they be able to write the code that junior developers can write and accelerate at the speed that junior developers can accelerate, they will also be, the agent side of things that you're talking about, will also be able to self-review that code. So you'll have agents that write the code, and then you'll have agents that review that code, 2 different tasks that you can specialize those agents in. And the final code review by the human could actually be very small at that point, because the trust level right now is very low. Like again, Stack Overflow survey is like 3% of developers heavily trust AI.
Right.
Enough to send it to production essentially without looking at it minimally. I think if that raises to 50%, it's a whole new ballgame. A different world. It will impact all developers. You'll either have to get good at reviewing the code that AI writes, which is a very important skill to learn right now.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I think it's super, just heavily learn how to detect when AI is bullshitting you, because it bullshits you a lot, and leverage that to be better at reviewing the code. If you're good at that, you can stick around for quite a while. But if you're just heads down writing code for a living and not paying attention to the AI, those are the developers that might not make the cut in the next round, in my opinion. But again, I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm playing the advocate of accelerationism. AI is going to become super good.
Right.
And then the other side of it is AI is going to be stagnant. And in that case, AI we have right now is really good, but right now it's more of a tool than anything else, versus an actual replacement. And to be clear as well, companies, like you're saying, the people at the top are seeing headlines from random news articles and already cutting staff sometimes.
Of course.
Now, it's a very minimal amount. Very, very small amounts of companies are doing that. And most of the companies that are doing that are making the news, right? It's become a big deal when it's in the news, but companies are already doing that. So it's already happening on some small scale. So we're going to see very quickly if that actually has any sort of legs. Does it make sense? Or is that going to slow down those companies' development teams as well? it's kind of good that some companies are doing these experimentations for the people that aren't being laid off. Obviously, it's still terrible for those people.
Of course.
But for the industry, we can see maybe these companies will crash and burn quickly, and then we'll know that AI is not there yet.
Let's just put a pin in time and estimate that AI agents are good. They're approaching, if not have matched, the skill level of the average junior developer. So in the future, an agent in terms of productivity and code quality equals a junior developer, roughly. So just to be clear, you think, and I think this as well, that junior developers are in trouble at that point, or at least there's going to be less junior developer roles, because these companies are going to think it is not my responsibility to train these people. Why would I pay to train you when I could just go into the talent pool and get someone who I don't need to train? I only need to train them on our internal policies and get them familiar with what we do. Why would I train these people for free?
It's a good
Or
point.
not for free, for a lot of money.
I do see that point. What I counter a little bit with is that I think people will just rebrand themselves as not junior developers, and they'll just come in and be like, yeah, I can do that,
So
whatever it is.
So let me ask you this then. My next part, and this kind of like my final part is, we're still in this future that I just described. Do you think that the career path, the roadmap, if you will, of the average developer career is going to be massively changed? Because that thing you just said where it's like, oh, I'm just not a junior developer anymore. It's like, I understand that doesn't sound like it's a big change, because a lot of time positions in companies mean nothing. But I mean, calling yourself a junior developer is saying, hey, I still need some training. And for you to say, oh, no, I don't need training anymore. It's like, okay, so then are we entering into the era of everybody is a senior developer at that point? And then we have this weird thing where it's like, okay, now the word senior doesn't mean anything. And then, oh, we're all controlling AI things to compensate for our lack of skill. If we are truly a junior, are we going to see salaries fall at an unprecedented rate? And I kind of feel like we are. Then you're going to say, well, why would I hire this guy who's been in the industry for 15 years? I'm paying him $300,000 when this guy who's junior is doing the exact same thing. And yeah, the site goes down every now and then, but oh well, he gets it back up.
I think just like in every single situation with a different industry change, we're going to see a shift. And it's
Sure.
already starting to happen, where salaries will fall for certain things like regular web development. I think they're already falling for that. But other areas will start to see a steep increase, a steep rise.
Okay.
And that will continually happen because people will find like, oh, if we hire one of these guys, they're able to accelerate us by 10 times. And therefore they're worth pretty much like, 5 or 10x their cost.
I see.
The
Okay.
cost of a different developer. It's happening right now to a level that we've never seen ever in the history of this industry before. Like there has been, it seems like dozens, or if not like more offers sent out to AI engineers that are approaching $1 billion. $1 billion for a engineer, okay, or a researcher, whatever you want to call them. That is something, again, in our industry that's never happened across any platform, and that's happening right now.
You mean
So
$1 billion
Mark
across the industry? Not one person's getting $1 billion here.
One person's getting $1 billion.
One person's getting $1 billion.
One person is getting offered $1 billion for 2 or 3 years of work. Mark Zuckerberg has gone out there and been like, if we don't, essentially his mindset is this: if we don't hire these people now, we will be left behind where AI is going. If we are left behind, our company will crumble. If there's only a certain amount of people out there that are this good at AI, whether it's training models or whatever, there's only so many of those people out there.
Right.
If we don't hire the right ones right now, it doesn't matter how much money I have, it'll all be gone in X amount of time. So he's offering pretty much infinite money to certain engineers, and not one or two engineers. Like as far as I can see, it's dozens to try to get them on board. Right? These vary. Like some of them are getting literally $1 billion, and some of them are getting $100 million. I don't think there's much of a difference. Honestly. Not to an individual. Correct. I think that those salaries in that space are insane. So I think that's the kind of shift that we're going to start seeing. Is all of a sudden people will, the highly specialized people in a certain field of like, oh, maybe they can accelerate the data pipeline by 10x. These random people or this random industry over here will start to see a shift up not every industry is going to start seeing 100 to $1 billion.
Of course.
We might see jumps to 500,000, 600,000.
Well, we know
A
that
million.
the very fact that Facebook is now called Meta means that we
Yeah.
know that Facebook/Meta is a company that tries to become an authority, an early authority, meaning like they
Yes.
have control. So like they jumped on the metaverse very quickly, thinking that if the metaverse becomes huge, we are the number one influencer. And that, of course, allows you to steer the industry, things like that, and make a heck of a lot of money. So that might be what's happening here, where he's like, hey, I want to get in here.
Yeah, because he's behind and so he has to pay for it.
For Meta AI, you
That's
mean,
it.
right? Like I assume.
Of course. From the AI perspective, he's fairly behind. They're a B tier AI firm right now with their open source platform, and they're behind. He's now taking out his wallet and paying for the mistakes that caused them to be behind. A lot of companies will fall asleep. That's just how it's going to be for that part of the industry right now. Because if you want to keep up, you're going to have to match those payouts or whatever, or in some way, shape, or form. That's what's happening in that part of the industry right now. I think that will carry over for a while. A specific type of prompt engineer might become a heavily needed role across all companies because it may be a very specialized thing that's hard to do. All of a sudden, they're making $500,000. Whereas a web developer, because they're more generalized and AI can do a lot of their work, might have lower salaries. I can't predict the future, but that's the trend I'm seeing. If you could follow the trends of what's in demand, you might be able to make a bunch of money.
I feel like we should revisit this web news in a year or two. And like, I don't know if we're going to remember.
Absolutely.
It'd be pretty cool to be like, hey, what were we talking about with AI, and see what's happening? Because what we're discussing is that slow transition to AI displacing a lot of people, but AI is creating jobs that we never thought was possible. That whole industrial revolution, from farmers to factory workers to this to that to whatever, all that stuff. So maybe that's what we're talking about here.
Yep.
But I think that's
I
it.
think
That's the web news. You have
did
something
it.
else? I don't know if I cut you off.
I think this is something we will revisit even before the 2 years. Every little while, a lot of what we're talking about lately is going to be shifting towards AI talk here and there, both on the negatives and the positive side. I want to make that clear too, because we're seeing this being a big impact on our industry. Some people are hesitant to talk about AI or think that people are accelerationist by talking about it.
Right.
I think it's extremely important to discuss it, especially when we're talking about developers, because Matt said it earlier in the episode. These companies are coming after us.
Or they're fulfilling a need.
Yeah. Claude from Anthropic, they've said it multiple times. They want to replace software engineers. OpenAI has said they want to replace software engineers. These aren't side remarks. These are people coming out and saying they're gunning for our jobs.
Of course.
So I think it's extremely relevant for us to continue to talk about it moving forward. If you hate it, let us know. And, HTML, everything on X, HTML things on Threads and Instagram, LinkedIn, we're everywhere. Just let us know. It's really important for you guys to understand what we're talking about and listen to it.
Absolutely. With the whole vibe coding thing, some people think it's a trend, it's a this, it's a that. Only the future will tell. Well, I think AI personally is here to stay. It's going to be pretty revolutionary. It may hit a plateau in terms of what it can do. And then all these conversations about like the future of AI are kind of moot, maybe for even like 10 years or something. Who knows, until the next breakthrough comes. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that's it for the web news. Again, this is our quick conversational, more informal show. No formal intro, no formal outro, and so informal that I'm just going to say goodbye. The web news is going to close. Goodbye.
Bye.